it's Carrie from Tambella Arts. Thank you so much for downloading this tutorial to learn how to make this green wreath, this cute little Christmassy decoration. And let's get straight into it. So to make this particular design, firstly grab the template, make sure that you print out the template for the actual project. This will include the quilling template that we're going to refer all the way through. And it also has a reference to sizes of your strips that you'll need, the length of your strips. I'll talk more to that in a second. The tools that we'll be using, I'm using just a really fine beat up old crochet hook, but you can use a slotted tool or a quilling needle. I've also got myself a pair of tweezers, which I find really handy just to do this fine kind of work. I've also grabbed some glue. This is Elmer's school glue, and I've actually placed some out onto a takeaway container. And I'll use that to dip my bits into and as we go ahead. So that's just handy just to have to the side there. And then when I'm referring to the strips, so you can actually use this template to basically take a strip, reference the length and then cut with a pair of scissors, and then just cut the number that's appropriate against each one. Otherwise, these are the actual sizes of each strip. So the dark green, which is 10 centimeters or 4 inches for those of you playing along outside of the metric system. And then we've got our light green and our red as well. So if you just want to refer to that, you can do that too. Okay, so let's begin. Basically what we're going to do is start by making these larger closed scrolls that sort of have a point to them. So I'm taking my pre-cut strips, which you can see this is the dark green here, and basically I'm going to create a coil to manipulate to create that shape. So wrapping your paper around your quilling tool, rolling it around and around and around till you've basically used all the paper, scroll it onto your tool. And then what we're going to do is we're basically going to release it a bit so that we're getting a size that's close to our actual design. That's looking pretty good. And once we've got it close to, I'm just going to use an offcut piece of strip here and I'm going to glue the tail of my coil onto itself. And this is where your tweezers do come in handy. So just grabbing that like so, giving it a bit of pressure. You don't need these hooked kind of tweezers. A normal pair of tweezers works perfectly for this as well. And you're just basically grabbing it until it's got a nice hold with the glue. And then lining it up on your design. Actually, I'll loosen that a little bit. Made that a little bit too tight, too small. So you can make your coil larger by just basically loosening where the glue meets, and then we're just literally pinching the end to start making that shape. Just like so. So that's our first one. So we're going to make 12 of these. I'll show you a few and then I will actually speed up the video so that you're not sitting there watching me make every single individual one. So once again, rolling, loosen, and what is actually easier, I should have done this in the first instance, is make all your coils first and make them all to the same size. Again, using my tweezers to just nip, and I can see there that that is going to be pretty much spot on to the size that I'm after. Yep. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to finish doing the rest of my coils to the same size as this one, and then they'll all be as close as possible to the right size. Once again, just rolling it through. You want to try and avoid, I'm giving you a lesson here of what not to do. I got like a little tornado in that one. You can see that it's sort of bowed up a little bit. There's no panic about it, but if you want everything to be uniform, you're probably looking for really neat, tight coils that don't have that bubbling up. And the reason why mine do is because the tool that I'm using is not actually a straight shaft. See how it's tapered? And that's why I'm getting that effect. Okay, rolling that. Okay. Now, I'm going to start to squish these into shape. Now, the other thing that you'll note with this design is that I've got all my coils are turning the same direction. So you can see here all of them are sort of twisting anti-clockwise into the center of the design. So what we'll do here is we'll actually duplicate that. So we're taking each coil and just making sure that they're turning the same way. There's just a gentle little grab for each one, just like so. And because we've pre-cut our strips to these lengths, we should be pretty close to making all of this fit just so. So let's see. Here we go. So that's our initial shape, and at this point you can absolutely start to glue these together, and I'd suggest that you probably can at this point. So again, I'm going to grab myself a little offcut and I'm going to start adhering these shapes together. Again, you don't need much glue to be doing this. It's probably best to be using your tweezers to grab them. And it's just a gentle dab of glue in between each shape, just like so. And we're adhering each one as we go around. You can see how quickly that glue grabs. And then we're just trying to make sure that they don't move around too much as they dry. Once again, I just stress that you want to make sure that this isn't sticking to the, onto your work surface. So I'm just going to move him to the side and allow him to dry, just like so. There we go, beautiful. All right, now let's start doing our smaller version. So all of these outer ones are with the lighter green. And again, using your small, or rather your middle shaped length pieces, we're doing exactly the same thing and creating those smaller coils. You may find your paper behaves a bit differently depending on the colour that it is. So I'm using Recollections cardstock here. I think it's 176 GSM from memory. And most of the light colours don't necessarily roll as neatly as the darker colours for some reason. I'd assume because it's the amount of ink in the paper. So just need to be a bit careful. Okay, I think that's going to be a good size. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to make all of them that size. Number 1, let's do another 11. Okay. Alright, now let's start putting these puppies together. So once again, we're just literally pinching the ends, and at this point you could even bring back your main centerpiece. You'll see now that's pretty close to being comfortably dry by now. And literally what we're doing, you can literally dip your piece in like so and just place it just like that. Okay, so each one literally shaping and then adhering. I'm just going to dip them in like so and place. Cute. Alright. Now once again we can place our wreath to the side. Just be careful that I haven't put enough glue on him. There we go. And now we've just got our little berries that we've got positioned throughout. So again, taking your strips, your pre-cut strips that you've got there by 8, and literally all that I'm going to do is I'm just going to make tight little coils, just like so. If you wanted to, with these coils, you can roll them out a little bit, which I have done in this original design, like with this one here. I've rolled him out just a touch, and then I've glued it together to create sort of like a round closed coil. My glue's starting to dry out here. I'm going to have to put some more out in a sec. A little more fidgety or fiddly, but they're quite sweet as well if you wanted to do a few of those too. Okay, so we've got 2 done, another 6 to go. And it doesn't really matter about uniform size with these ones. Like, I quite like having some teeny tiny ones against bigger ones as well, so I think that's fine. Now, let's bring our wreath back. And again, it should be pretty close to dry now. You don't have to place these exactly like I've placed them. It's up to you. But again, you're basically taking your little scroll, dipping one end, and then adhering it onto your wreath. I'm taking each one individually and just gluing it into place. And this just sets it off. I think it makes it look really sweet, really cute. There's no right or wrong with placement with these, so don't feel too pedantic about where you're going to place them. It's all up to you. The top. There we go. So what we're going to do now is actually create a little ring so that we can thread a string through and hang our wreath on a tree. So what you want to do is you want to grab some more of your strips, and this time you don't need it to be as wide, so you can cut your strip in half lengthways. And what we're going to do is use one of these lengths. Now, we're not creating a coil so much this time, we're basically rolling this to create a little loop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a little bit of glue now to the inside tail, like so. And then a bit more glue along the length. And again, you don't need much. You're probably going to get glue all over yourself in this process, but bear with me. And what we're trying to do is basically make a little ring that we can thread some ribbon through at a later date to hang our ornament. So this is if you'd like to hang it on the tree. You can of course mount this on a card instead, mount your actual wreath on a card, but I think this design's too pretty not to have on display permanently. Okay, and then what you're looking for is just one of the sections to adhere it to. I'm going to glue it up the top here. Oh, too much glue, Carrie. Going to adhere just like this. And we're going to leave that to dry, and I'll take some shots for you once it's dry. Alright, thanks so much for quilling along with me, guys. I hope you found this project enjoyable, and I'll see you next time.